So I'm going to talk about the tidal current in Hell's Gate. But first maybe I should talk about tidal current in general. It's caused by the gravitational pull of the moon on the surface of the Earth. Also, the area between the area between high and low tide is usually considered public. So you can think of the area between high and low tide as a free zone that encircles every landmass, every continent, and every island. Some words to describe things that happen in the tide are whirlpools, boils, spouts, troughs, dishes, holes, and sometimes a whirlpool can be so strong all of those things will occur at the same time, and that's called a maelstrom.
Where'd you get those graphics from?
I drew them. And the second fastest tidal current in the world is, you guessed it, in New York City. It's in Hell's Gate. It's in Hell's Gate, and it's the Hell's Gate is a tidal strait at the confluence of the Harlem River and the East River. The first time I ever went through Hell's Gate was with Ivan Monforte, some of you may know. He was when I started to do the tide and current taxi, he was the first person that responded out of anyone. He was the very first person that got back to me. Ivan can't swim. He didn't tell me until right here. And, but I figured if anything bad happened, I could just drag him to safety. But sometimes when people are panicking, they fight you in the water, so I figured I could knock him out. And so we met at the water, Ivan was a little late, and it got dark immediately. And at that point, my theory was that you should, I thought that the currents, the whirlpools that are supposed to happen in Hell's Gate, I thought that was because of the confluence of all the rivers coming together. It turns out I was dead wrong. But so I chose to go through Hell's Gate when the tide was fastest, when all the tide was going in the same direction. So it was going as fast as it would possibly go south. And so that's when I planned our trip. And we went really fast. The second time I went through Hell's Gate was with Birgit Rasmussen. This is a totally set up photograph of us planning. You can tell it's totally set up because like where she's pointing on the map is probably like in Queens somewhere. Oh, I didn't tell you that she wanted to swim across Hell's Gate. That's why we went there. She thought, she had heard about a woman that did it in like the 1920s or something, and she wanted to do it herself. And I figured that if she saw it, and if we got in a boat and actually went in there, she would decide not to do it.
Thank you.
That's her husband in the back. This is a chart of Hell's Gate. It was a really dangerous place to navigate. They tried to blow a lot of the rocks out of Hell's Gate in 1885, and they piled all the rocks up to make Middle Rock Island. That's that penis-shaped island right in the middle of Hell's Gate. I assume they knew what they were making. And, this says 58, that says 116, that says 98, that says 30, that says 36 or something. This around here says 28. So if you can imagine what that looks like, that's a 60-foot dive over only a few yards. I can imagine what it looks like. That brings us to the time I went through Hell's Gate when I promised myself if I got through it alive, I would never go back. This is with Bonnie Hulkower and Gabriel Willow. They were two biologists. They still are. They're not. Nothing happened. They are. Two biologists. He's a specialist in the birds in the area. So he wanted to go see and go through, and he actually gives tours of the wildlife in the area. So he wanted to sort of get another perspective of it. So here, that's the Hell's Gate Bridge. The water got really choppy under the Hell's Gate Bridge. That was the first thing that made me nervous. These are the kind of waves that have sunk the Tide and Current taxi before. And that's actually the Coast Guard looking at us. They had come by like a few minutes earlier and they asked if I knew what I was doing. And I said yes. And so now I'm going to show you how to swim out. If you're ever in the water taxi and we capsize. So if you were in the water taxi, you'd be wearing a life preserver. and I probably would have made you paddle. So basically, the boat goes away and then you're just like in the water, right? You're gonna wanna like lay backwards because a whirlpool is like swirling down and it can actually like grab your feet and pull you under for a little bit. Just hold your breath, it'll spit you right back up. But you want to keep your feet kind of outstretched and lay on your back. You don't want to go like forward like this way because the life preserver will kind of like push your head under. So lay back so that you can like breathe. Just relax, don't panic, and just keep your feet like out of the water. And if you're going like really quickly, like if you're in that current, just stay there. Just stay in that current. If you're moving really fast, just kind of like go with the current because you're not going to be able to swim out of it. But if you're like here and you're going like kind of slow up against the shore, you probably swim to shore at that point. But just basically wait until it stops moving quickly and then you can swim to the side. And you can just wait until it spits you out. And usually they say to stay with the boat, but in the case of the Tide and Current taxi, it's useless once it sinks. And if I'm with you, I'll help too.
And what do you do with the oar?
Oh, I maybe just discard it, I don't know.